of the things when we started CareerBuddy, we started to think about the recruiting process as a consumer process, in a way that, the way we think about it, when you're trying to buy a shirt on let's say Jumia or whatever, Amazon, the process of buying something is so effortless that you're like, okay, no brainer, do it, bam, bam, done, right? So we were thinking about, we think candidates also we should think of them as consumers, and we also kind of advise a lot of clients to think of employers as consumers, because employees rather, because you're in a market where there's a lot of job now, and there are fewer very, very good people. So in the same way that you're chasing your customers to say, hey, customers, you have 5 options to go and buy, come to us, you should also start to like really target employees. If you want to get, you can get any kind of employee, but if you want to get the great people, you need to go and seek them out and treat them very well and say, here is the process. If you go through it, this is what you get, this is what you get. Even if you don't make it like, hi, you went through this process, this is why you didn't get it. You can apply again in 6 months or in 1 year from now, that kind of thing.
Why do you think that there is a shortage of good people?
Are they going extinct?
So there's 2 things. First, in from a skill perspective, there are a lot of jobs that exist now that did not exist 5 years ago.
Right.
And a lot of those jobs, no one was trained or prepared to do those jobs. So for example, everybody's doing growth now, but you go and check the curriculum of any university in Nigeria, there's no growth or whatever, growth marketing, right? So let's say that. So, or software engineering, right? Even though we have a lot of institutions, a lot of organizations training people to become software engineers, but Nigerian universities churn out a lot of computer science graduates who are still learning Fortran. Yes, in their curriculum. So, assuming, for example, that the same level that we're churning out all these software engineers or computer engineering graduates, they were trained in like modern day software language, and they could leave school immediately and jump into the job market, then we would have like a good supply, right? So those new skills, we don't have a pipeline for them.
Right.
First of all.
True. It's not like, I studied software development in the University of Apakaliki or something. There's nothing like that. There's nothing like, I studied content marketing. And
so those jobs, they exist now.
Some of them are done with school and still have to now go on training and learn, and that's true.
So the pipeline for the kind of jobs, so right now there's boom and focus and money in startup, and there are lots of jobs that startup want, and not enough people are trained for that, right?
True.
So first, you need to figure out how to even get to that gap where. So how do you get enough software people to work for you? So that means that the few people who have then stepped out and gone to either Andela or some school and they've acquired a skill, or they're self-taught, those people now. So you now have to compete for those people.
Right.
So there are more software engineering jobs than software engineers in Nigeria right now.
So
just software
the demand does not meet the supply.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things, like, as a recruiter, you said they need to banish in their interview or CV process? Like, this is obsolete, this is inhuman, and this needs to go.
So, like I said before, one of the first things is that communication needs to be very. You need to build some empathy into communication with people. Just look. There are statistics out there that says that 85% of people say that the job search process is the most difficult and emotionally draining process in their lives, right? There's a lot of uncertainty. And look, as a human being, there is nothing that gets you anxious and crazy as uncertainty. Like if we sit here and we're not certain that this roof is gonna hold, if it starts raining, we will be anxious, right? When we don't know what's next, what's coming next, that's a lot of uncertainty, and that's what people go through in a recruiting process. So you need to think about just even eliminating that by just communicating and just by saying, here is what you should expect, this is when to expect it. Or when you don't expect, but you didn't get that this moment, say, hi, we're sorry, something has changed, we're going to communicate with you again at this period. So this is even more of not something they should banish, but something that we should see more of, right? Something that you should see more of, just that. Banish, I think that there are lots of things that people are doing in recruiting processes that are important and necessary, and there are a lot of them that it's just unnecessary. Like I think that tests are important. Tests are good. They tell you something. If you're dealing with high volume recruiting and you don't want stress of going through everybody one by one, you want to evaluate and see where people are. So tests are still very good. What are the things I have heard that people do that I'm like, that's unnecessary? So again, maybe recruiters are going to be angry at this. All of those personality tests, they are unnecessary.
I watched one TED Talk. It's not a Nigerian TED Talk. I think it was a Neil Patel thing, and he invited someone to speak. I've forgotten the name of the organization. And he said, so there's a test that he tells like employees who want to work for him to take like the last stage. And if you don't pass that test, he's not hiring you. Literally.
Why don't you do that test first then?
It's like and you don't know what it takes to pass the test in the first place. So it's like, if you do not pass this test, I'm not hiring you.
You would think that would be the first, right? So that you wouldn't waste people's
It's
time.
like the final stage. If you don't pass.
So one of the things that is also in this hiring process is that a lot of is an ego trip, is a power play. So most things, we're just humans. A lot of things that you do it just so you create a hoop so someone jumps through it, and it makes you feel
excited,
yes.
people are fighting for me. You're
We
fighting.
did
The chase.
that.
The chase is exciting, I
So
guess.
that's why all of these things around these horrible bosses and all these things that people talk about toxic workplaces, I don't think that the people are even addressing the bigger issue. The bigger issue is just like the nature of how we treat people, not as human beings, but as objects, as something. So there is no, I would say maybe there will be some whatever way to manage people better, but the number one secret to actually really managing or having a great employee policy or workplaces, just treat people like human beings. Just like be decent.
It's just the first thing.
Just and to even say we're even talking about this is crazy, but this is the bare minimum. Just treat someone like a human being. And just like, hey, if I don't need to, why do you need to shout? Or
why do you need
whatever.
to punch your fist through a door?
Or just like set up something to frustrate people. All the things that people say in HR, sorry, is in the policy or is out of my control. It's not me.
Just basic things to make their life just easier. You would hear cases of maybe, of course, Lagos traffic is already hectic, and maybe you actually heard that today rain fell and there's massive traffic, and the employee comes late to work, and then you deduct their salary. Literally. Things like that. It's you just not treating them as humans, because what would you have expected? That they have telepathic skills or they'll transport themselves somehow. Do you get? And I feel like HR does not extend the same yardstick of judgment to themselves the way they extend to other employees.
Absolutely.
So
again, all of it. So look, we can trash HR from today till tomorrow. There are a lot of things. Some things HR, they have a job. They are trying to keep their job. They're trying to keep their job. So lots of things HR people there are HR people that are evil. Those ones that are like having meeting with Lucifer, you know, the very highest level.
Executive members.
There are those people, but there are others that is just, look, I'm just trying to keep my job.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't help you.
I'm
This
just
is
trying
not
to
me,
look.
it's the CEO.
I'm just trying to keep my job. So people talk about all this employee like workplace culture, all those things. Everything in our workplace culture comes from the leader.
Yeah.
HR, even how considerate HR is in your company, comes from the leader. If leaders set this is the tone, this is how we want to manage people, HR is just like really just
comply.
making the wish of the leader come through.
Yeah.
So in cases where the leaders have either through design or omission have neglected to like give HR a directive of this is how we should treat people, this is the culture that we want to establish here, then you leave room for ambiguity, and then if there's a good HR person, they do a good thing.
But
If there's a terrible HR person,
they
they
do
do
a
a terrible
bad
thing.
thing. Wow, that's like really insightful. I mean, it's just important that we know that the world is constantly evolving, and it's not one size fits all. And one thing that stood out for me that was interesting was it's different. Like when you're applying for a job, you need to understand the cultural setting of the country you're applying to. Like you said, in Europe, it's nice that you have your face on the CV, but maybe in America, it's not that way.
They don't want.
And here in Nigeria, if you don't put your age, it's going to be like
marital status,
you don't put your marital
local
status,
government.
They want to know your marital status, your local government, and all those things. But if you put this in your CV to apply to a job outside the country, they're like, why did you give us all this information? So it's just always important to take note of this, that it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. And we know that there's some things that may feel redundant or unnecessary. But if it has been clearly communicated that it's needed and you go for it, then at least you know what you're getting into.
So there are two tweets that come to mind. There was this a while ago actually, where this lady came on and was ranting about how she had a guy, she was interviewing a guy, and the guy was like, "You smell nice." And it was this big brouhaha.
I remember.
WWW. What do you have any thoughts on that? Was it, in your opinion, is that inappropriate?
It's very, I don't know. This is, look, one of the things that we miss in this space, we miss context. So we don't know what the context is. So of course, definitely, again, like I said before, a lot of things about hiring is a power play. And we are a high power distance culture. So a person, so what if it was the person that was interviewed, let's say for example, the guy was the employer and the lady was the candidate, and the employer said, "You smell nice." What's she gonna do? Right? So we're in culture, context, all of those things. I think that the person they're misguided and trying to give a compliment, and those like, "You smell nice" is a misguided compliment. Definitely.
You know, maybe they read it somewhere that compliments your interview.
Like, you want to compliment the person, but like the person that came to your head, like, "Oh, you smell nice."
Maybe it has some sexual undertones to the person.
Yeah, but I feel like if it was, she would have come out to say
why
it
did
was
she want to say that?
So that's what I'm saying, that this is a power thing, right? If the roles were reversed, we wouldn't hear anything about it. But because the person was like, "Me at HR, I'm interviewing you. I hold the destiny in your hand, and you have the. And what's your concern about that? I smell nice. Like, what sort of disrespect is that?"
I think that's just petty.
That's so. This is. Again, there's a lot of context over this. I don't know.
I think that was just petty. I mean, it's just over miscompliment your interview. So maybe you should have said, "I like your brain."
There was nothing you could have liked.
There's nothing.
I like your brain. I like your brain.
But here's the thing, right? So, in a different setting, in a different culture, cultural setting, someone be like, oh yeah, thank you. Like,
And even though it's
Nice
name of the color they use,
exactly. Like,
colors.
oh, it's you mentioned the perfume,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, that's great.
Yeah.
But you're in Nigeria and you meet
Not
an HR
everybody's
lady.
that liberal.
Please
actually.
keep your compliments to yourself till you get the job.
Exactly. Not everybody. I think you should just go out with the mindset that not everybody's as liberal as you are, and so just err on the side of caution when you want to do things. You know, oh, I'm this free spirit. If they said it to me, I would not mind. But the truth is, sadly, not everybody thinks like you. So always err on the side of caution, kind of.
So this one is probably gonna be like, but there was a tweet that I saw again, and it was a lady who said she went for an interview, and when it was her turn, the interviewer basically said, "Oh, I can't interview you, you're too short." And obviously on Twitter, it was people were asking for the context, what kind of job. So is there any scenario where
that would be
have
a right
been
thing to say?
Because we can say modeling or waiters, bar or whatever, but like still, is there any?
At least you should have just interviewed the person, knowing that you are not going to hire them.
Maybe even that is wrong.
No, but like telling me, I can't interview you. You're too short. How about you just?
Is height discrimination
a thing?
okay in
Or any
certain
form of
industries? So like let's say maybe fashion or entertainment.
But absolutely, right? Like, this is gonna come out wrong, but realistic. Every form of discrimination is quote unquote okay when you're hiring, because every role has some roles, not every role. They have specification, characteristic. Who is the best person that can do this job?
They were height.
Some jobs, for example, you can't get into the military or in the police with below certain height. I don't know if they're enforcing that policy in Nigeria police.
I've definitely seen some short policemen.
But look, it's the thing, right? You should have the elite rating, yes, police.
Then I think it should be said. I think it should be
Fitness
said.
level or whatever.
No, I think
There is height
like
requirement in the military.
But why?
No, I think
It might
like
not be tall
even
enough
if
to
I
like.
is a thing, I feel it should be said like
In the
okay,
job
we are applying. You should be so and so. If you're below this height, please don't apply.
So again, then people are gonna come out and say, "Oh, discrimination." Everybody wants to come and say, "Oh, we are an equal opportunity employer." It's not true. Everything. So I think again, a lot of things is context, delivery. So this kind of scenarios, if someone was coming for modeling and we want only people who are 6 foot tall, that's all. When someone who's like 5, because people who are 5'8" think they're 6 foot tall also, and all that, is how you communicate it to them. Like, hey, sorry, this role, this is what we're looking for. I don't think you're gonna be a right fit. But someone can just say, sorry, it's not for you.
Are you blind? Did you not see that we said?
Yeah, look, the bank people can do that. Look here upside down. You didn't see the requirements, me.
Get out of here. Wow.
So
It's just, I don't know.
Look, to be honest, and we can sit here and say, oh no, it's not right. But for certain kind of roles, you have specification. Like, oh, we want. I mean, again, this is gonna some of these things they're going to come up like, oh, this is not politically correct, right? But you're like, oh, certain roles, gender plays a role into it, right?
Should it?
There's certain roles that you would say, okay, there is a gender requirement for this.
What kind of role?
For this role, right? I'm trying to think now about what are the things that.
I mean, I know in the pet and gas industry, there's this discrimination. I mean, I have one or two friends who are in pet and gas that are ladies, and one of the things they complain about is they hardly allow them to go to the field, to the plants. I'm like, I want to, and they're like, I want to go to the plant, I want to go to the field. Why is it only men that are being allowed to go to the field? You just automatically assume that if I'm going to work in pet and gas, then I'm stuck in the office. Like, I have to do the admin side of pet and gas, but I want to be on the field. And we had a back and forth. and they were like, maybe actually there's some chemicals they feel like it's not very healthy for the women.
I don't think that
it shouldn't be like.
I don't think that's
I think they are thinking about in terms of childbirth. Like, what if I'm not thinking about my own childbirth thing, then you shouldn't be thinking about it on my behalf. I said I want to go to the field. She get, and I think I've heard of that, and that's just form of discrimination, and that's why you go to all those like offshore. You would see maybe 80% of men, and then maybe just 20%.
Let's talk about like personal assistants. Why would you want a gender specific personal
Maybe
assistant?
his wife said, I don't you ever hire a female.
No, but most of them actually is females that they call out for, not male.
I know that there are some people that they have spouses.
So again, like I said, look, a lot of these things, so there are certain definitely things, jobs that anyone can do, and jobs that then there is no specific or obvious reason why a particular kind of gender should do, and you blatantly just say, I want this kind of thing. Definitely those need to be questioned. But number one, when you're hiring, there are lots of things that go into it beyond just like, oh, can the person do the job? There are lots of things like, will they do the job correctly? Is there a fit? Because we don't talk about it, but there is a person to supervisor fit as well. Will I say it's wrong that, oh, you say a permanent assistant only wants women? There is also a bias that people like women are more organized and detail oriented than guys. That
like
I
for
heard
a
that.
personal assistant role.
For certain roles, actually, you're like, hey, you want someone. I don't know if that's true.
But should we discard the place of the truth? Is every gender actually has a strength.
Yes, but some strength.
General?
Is it not?
Generic? Shouldn't it be based on the individual? You see what I'm trying to say? It's like saying, I'm not going to take black people because generally we have an opinion that black people aren't as smart as white people. Because where do we draw the line?
So that's where a lot of, I said it before that a lot of things in recruitment, it's just like people are just lazy. They're just like, oh, it's going to be stressful to do this. I don't want to go through the stress of doing this. So I just say, okay, I only want this kind of person, right? Because we are like, it takes a lot of time. And I think roles that are like cognitive, like that require a certain level of cognitive competence, there's no gender variance that comes into play. We can argue for roles that have like certain kind of like physical component, but cognitively or in terms of ability to do the job, we have to treat a lot of cases on a case-by-case basis. Again, but like a lot of people, hiring is very tedious and people are lazy. And people just be like, I just don't want to go through the stress of that. And a lot of also like I said, a lot of hiring, there's a lot of bias. So you're like,
personal.
oh yeah, women do this better. Okay. Men do this better. Okay. There is no basis, there is no evidence to support it. We just like,
and even for like us, we know we're in a patriarchal society here, and automatically, even for some people who pride themselves as being I'm liberal, there's still some unconscious bias about women shouldn't be doing this. I mean, look at NYC, the study they released that if you're a woman and you're married, you will serve in your husband's state, whether you requested to serve in another state or not. Like you're automatically going to serve in the state that your husband lives in, but that doesn't apply to the married men who want to serve. So it's just like, what is NYS's business with family matters? Do you get? So those are biases, like those are real issues. And
so I think that for as much as possible, everybody, we should continue to question and challenge a lot of biases that exist.
Break the bias.
I don't know about breaking bias, but like you need to like.
Is that even possible?
I think that a lot of things. I think Steve Jobs, the person who always said that, most of the rules in the world that exist were created by people that were no smarter than you are, right? So most of the things that we do that we've come to accept as fact someone started it. Someone just said, "Oh, we should be doing this,"
Do it this way.
and the rest of us did not question and said, "Why? Why can't?"
And maybe it was even for a certain case, like that was specific to their time, and it's not needed now, but we still do it anyways.